Hey everybody, and welcome back to The Pert Ale, a solo basic fantasy RPG podcast. I am your host, GM Wolfgang, and this is episode 5. Um, so last we left off, we were in the old island fortress, and Aldrich had run into Magenhild the Mighty that he had encountered on his way out of Morgansfort. We'll say the second time, I believe is what the lore is, that the second time after Aldrich was attacked by the Sturge, he had to go back to Morgansfort, and that's when he ran into Magenhild. And Magenhild, I'm not sure if that makes sense. I don't. I'm really trying to work better on my notes, but it really doesn't matter. So ultimately, um, Aldrich had met Magenhild, and Magenhild had come out to the fortress. Then they went into a corridor that had several cells up against the wall, and we went into one of the cells, came upon a giant crab spider, and then within seconds, Magenhild right out of the gate tripped and fell, and then the spider came and we rolled on a table from D12 magazine about a death-defying injury, and he got his mouth crushed by the mandibles of this spider. And we pulled him out of the fortress and we brought him back into town, and Father Thelbane performed the regenerate spell on him, and that completely healed him. And so now we're back in Morgansfort, and we are going to recruit people to join us, hopefully around 4, maybe 5. We'll see where that goes. I have, unfortunately, while rewatching these videos, to kind of catch my notes up, because I've been really lazy about taking notes while I'm gaming, which I'm going to work on with this episode. Unfortunately, I have run some rooms in the Old Island Fortress incorrect. The first one that we came across, the Caecilia, that's supposed to be something different. And there's a couple of other things that I just wasn't paying attention to. I guess I was getting a little lost in the emulator, the Game Master emulator, as well as, just kind of being in the zone and not really paying attention to what the module was saying. So I think we're going to let some weeks pass that we're in Morgansfort, and then we can run it again, and hopefully that'll just kind of just make sense that some things have changed. I mean, if it doesn't make sense, whatever. I mean, it is just a role-playing game, and sometimes players and game masters kind of mess stuff up. So, anyway, I don't want to sit here and talk a whole lot, so let's just hop right into it and play some basic fantasy. Okay, so Magenhild and Aldrich are holed up right now in the Iron Helm Inn, and Magenhild has just kind of been mentally recovering from his encounter with the giant crab spider. He almost died. He had his face smashed in. Fortunately, we had a cleric who was available, a high-level cleric who was available, who could fix his mouth and restore all of his hit points. So, totally saved him from dying, and we also found out that he's not going to have any sort of speech impediment. So that's important. But Magenhild's a little on the weary side. So while Magenhild's been kind of resting and wrestling with the fact that he almost died, Aldrich is going to spend some time recruiting people, or has spent some time. Let's figure out how I want to roll that, or how I want to play that. Something also to note, I brought up last episode that I wasn't sure how to roll different colored dice on Owlbear, and I found the option, so that's really sweet. And so I'm excited to use that. Got some nice colored dice here. And let's say on a roll of a d4, how many weeks they stay in Morgansfort while Magenhild's kind of recovering. Aldrich, feels, not necessarily guilty about what happened, but, Magenhild wouldn't have been there had Aldrich not told him about it. So Aldrich, I guess guilt is not a crippling guilt, but, because Magenhild's an adult, Magenhild made a decision, and but at the same time, had Aldrich just kept his mouth shut, would this have happened? So let's roll on a d4 and figure out how many weeks. You know what? I've been using these black ones for a while. Let's use this kind of reddish color here. Is that... Okay, it's red and yellow, so kind of an orangey yellow fire color. So let's roll this one. 3. Alright, so it's been 3 weeks. And let's figure out how many people Aldrich has managed to recruit. I was fortunate enough to be going through some old assets that I had while I was cleaning out one of my drawers that I keep all of my tabletop stuff in, so I have several characters just waiting in the wings to be used. So I've got several character sheets here. They're not totally complete, and nor do I have a character sheet for Magenhild yet. So, without further ado, let's start. So, 3 weeks in Morgansfort after the spider incident. And we'll check in on Magenhild in a little bit, but let's figure out how many retainers, or I guess we'll call them retainers to start with, and we'll figure out whether or not they want to join the party afterward. So let's start there. Let's figure out how many. I said I didn't want to do a party of 5, but maybe a party of 5 wouldn't be too bad. So let's check out our random number generator and let it do the thinking for me. Well, I was supposed to just work, but I guess because I'm using a private window to run the PC side, it's not going to let me do that. So I'm going to pause for a second and get my generators up on the recording screen. Okay, so I've decided to just do random numbers between 4 and 5. I initially thought to make the high number 6, but I think 6 is just going to get cumbersome. And, maybe if I'm getting better at this down the line, maybe I'll add a 6th. Or we can rotate some characters out. Again, I'm not opposed to death. So anyway, 4 or 5. So let's roll the generator. Alright, so looks like we're going with 4. Okay, I'm alright with that. So I'm just going to kind of streamline this. Let's figure out, of my characters that I have available here, who is the most suited to come with us. Okay, so I have a couple of options here. I think I'm going to ignore these 2 guys for now. They just don't have any skills on them. The other ones were kind of created for that. So the options I have available are a halfling thief, very creative, never done before, a dwarf thief, a elf fighter mage, and a human cleric. Now we have 2 fighters, and so a magic user would be helpful. And Druindar here has a decent ability list here. His armor class is 17. His skills look good. He's got a couple too many for my starting. How I'm running this, so I'll have to whittle that down a little bit. So we've got a good running with Druindar. Baldric Fleetfoot here, our Halfling Thief, has the perfect number of skills, and it's not very strong. Doesn't have any modifiers for intelligence or wisdom, so he could be worse for wearing that. But he's got a +1 in dexterity, constitution, and charisma, so that's good. I may keep him. Something to note as well is I always do max hit points, so actually I believe that Magnhild's hit points would be 8, which still means he would have been hit by that spider, who I rolled an 8 on. So like instead of rolling the d4, I just give them 4. And then of course, Baldric here has a +1 to Constitution, so that gives him 5. Fritz Ulrich here is our Cleric. He's pretty good on Strength. He's got a really good Armor class, 18. No modifier to Constitution, so he's just got the 1d6. He's got a 6 hit points. His skills are 1 too many. That's not going to be too difficult to take care of. And then I have Giselman Grossig, who is our Dwarf Thief. And he looks okay on abilities. His AC looks good at 14. I don't have any skills for him here. I remember he was a character much like Magnhild that just showed up as a random dice roll. Yeah, I remember he was trying to dissuade Baldric from, being a part of the party and to kind of rebel against the party and go with him. But that's not our story here. Or maybe it is. Maybe we'll see. So I think ultimately these guys, they're already pre-rolled up. They make sense. We'll have 2 main fighters, and then we'll have a 3rd fighter in the form of Druindar, who is a fighter magic user with he has a longsword +1. Honestly, I think I'll keep it. I may just use these guys as it sits. It'll give us 2 thieves, a cleric, and a magic user on top of 2 fighters. I think it's a pretty well-balanced party, and you just never know when you will need something. I could possibly change Giselman, the dwarf, to a... Well, no, because the combo classes are only elves. I was going to say maybe a thief magic user to kind of give that little bit of extra balance, but I don't have any just straight magic users, so I don't have anybody who's going to be a super target on this. Obviously, my thieves are going to be targeted, in a degree because they have the lower AC and the lower hit points. But I think ultimately these are good guys that we'll go with. And so we have our full party of... Oh, okay. Well... Alright, so it wasn't really a +4 to the party, it was a party of 4. I don't know. Let's go with a party of 6. Let's start with that. I've got them all laid out here. They're all good guys. They're all, I've played them before. They'd be good in this adventure. I just need to kind of edit the skills, and I'll just do that as we go along. They have alignment, which is not a basic fantasy thing, but we were playing old school D&D, so I wanted to add that in there. So you know what? I'm just going to change up the whole thing, and I'm going to run a party of 6 characters with 2 fighters, 1 fighter magic user, a halfling thief, a dwarf thief, and a human cleric. And I think that will give us a very well-rounded party. So I'm going to pull up these tokens. I'm going to pause real quick, and then we will check in on Magnhild, because it may just be a party of 5. I don't know how Magnhild's feeling, and so we'll just have to check in with him. And so I'm going to pause, and I'll be right back. Alright, let's look into Magnhild. How is Magnhild feeling? So let me pull up the emulator. And let's check his attitude. I used the pretty purple ones this time. So we roll a d12 on the attitude table and see how he is feeling. So how are you feeling, Morgansfort? It's been 3 weeks. Are you up for going back to the Old Island Fortress? 7. He's curious. Okay. Alright. So that's a good sign. He's not afraid. He's not, or hostile or anything like that. So let's roll on the motivation table and see if anything that we get makes sense here. So 5, love. Okay, so he's not afraid, and that's good. So I don't know what motivation he has. Honestly, we've not seen that recruit in the last 3 weeks, or have we? So let's roll on that. Have we seen the recruit that went down into the Old Island Fortress with Morgansfort? No. So we've not seen this guy at all. So maybe this is certainly somebody close to Morgansfort, or at least he feels responsible for this guy. He led him down there, and then he got hurt, and then had to leave, and it's been 3 weeks, and so it looks like, he's motivated by curiosity and love, or at least curiosity and, some sort of friendly affection. So it looks like Morgansfort's going to join us. So that's great. Okay. We're back in the Old Island Fortress. It took them half an hour to get out of town. Let's say they spoke for about an hour, so now it's about 11 o'clock, 10:30, 11 o'clock. And everybody has agreed to join the party, at least, for the moment. And so we're going to start moving. So let me get the select tool here. That should have everybody, and it does. Okay, so we have marching order, which is frankly it doesn't matter, so that's all right. I have the marching order. Zoom out a little bit, give us a little more. Okay. So Aldrich lights his lamp in spite of the fact that at least half the party has dark vision. Let's see, Giselmund, Baldric, and Druendar all do. So maybe not half the party, but a good chunk of the party has dark vision. And we're going to roll let's roll on that lamp, that lantern. Lanterns do 18 plus 1d6 turns. So let's roll a d6. So we have 21 turns until the lantern needs refueling. Now let's talk about movement rates. It looks like we're going to be moving. Yeah, everybody's at least 20 to 30. But the slowest is the 20 in encounter, which means per round, or per turn, they're going to be 60 feet. So we'll try to keep up with that. Let me get my notepad. And I have to find a pencil. Okay. So 21 turns at 60 feet per turn. So we start back where we were, and we move. Start back, rather, where, the entrance. So coming across the body of the dead Sturge, which is now completely just skeletoid and all of that by this point. We have hit one round. Messed up, because now I have to We'll have to be able to just move the Sturge, which I think I'm just going to lock after. Well, that's not the Sturge, that is our elf. So we're just going to back up a little bit. Okay. One moment. Okay, I have it locked. Hopefully that's not an issue anymore. But one thing that I do want to do is, I'm glad we were able to back up, is I actually want to have our thieves move forward ahead of us and use their move silent skill and kind of scope out this room that we know that that Aldrich and Magenhild know exists over here. So we gotta bring this back over a little bit. Right. Sorry if it's running a little slow, guys. Apparently I have a lot open on my computer. Let me try to close some stuff down. Help a little bit, so let's keep rolling. Alright, so I'm going to unstack these guys and then I'll pull the thieves out front. Okay, so I've gotten Baldric and Giselmund out front. They're going to go down and scope out the area, and so let's roll their move silently check. Giselmund, here is Baldric. Alright, so for Baldric, I'm going to roll his D100s. Let's give him the... There's no, like, green dice. Okay. I'll give him the black dice. So, Baldric, rather, may need to change one of their names, is going to move silently down this corridor, and so let's make his check. 95, so he is not moving quietly. He thinks he is, but he's not. So that's worth noting. Now, Giselmund's roll. Actually, neither is... wait. No, okay. Yeah, neither is Giselmund. Giselmund's being a little more quiet than Baldric, but neither of them are being very quiet. And the very fact that Baldric is just like kind of bumbling around. I think I'll make a perception check on Giselmund on whether or not he thinks that Baldric is being quiet. Giselmund does not have any skills listed, so that's something I'll have to fix, but honestly, it's pretty standard for me to give perception to my characters, particularly my thieves, but I think at the end of the day, perception is an incredibly well-rounded skill to have, you know. And but anyway, them being level 1, they don't have a +1 at all, and Aldrich has a 0 modifier on the wisdom, so let's just make a perception check, and he's got to get 17 or higher in order to make that. So let's see. So Giselmund is not aware of the fact that they're moving loudly. Had he been, I might have like done a secondary check on Baldric, but so anyway, we're going to move up to the corner, and we're going to have we're going to move up to the corner, and we're going to have Giselmund check around the corner because he has dark vision. So yeah, this is running really slow. Hopefully it'll pick back up a little bit. Oh, it's up in the corner. So don't have anything open that I don't need. I might need to refresh my VPN. Let me try that. That might make it a little quicker. It might not be on my system's end, but rather the fact that it has to go through the VPN. So 1 second. Alright, I've reconnected, so hopefully we're a little smoother here. So, does Gizelman see anything around the corner? This might be where the chaos factor in Mythic might be handy. I really want to use solo RPG GME emulator as much as possible, but this might be a really good point where, like, you know, we've already been down here. So actually, you know, instead of doing that, we've already been down here. So Aldrich and Magenhild have, and we know that there are monsters down here. So let's say the chaos factor's upped a little bit, and so using that kind of lingo from that GME, maybe there's a higher likelihood of a yes. So we're going to roll double. I may even think of like adding a triple option where, you know, the chaos is really high and there is a really high likelihood we see somebody, or the chaos is low and no, we don't see, you know, vice versa, and how that goes. So I may add a third D6 into this and kind of go with the greatest or lowest, depending on what makes the most sense. But at the moment, I'm going to say we're at kind of like, you know, just a slightly higher chaos level, and so maybe there is the possibility of, you know, something being over here. So I have a 1, which is a yes, and 5, which is a flat no, but it's a yes and. And so we'll roll on random event and on the verb noun generator. So let me pull up random event and I can do that all the time. Nerve found verb noun. So random event D20 5. NPC urgently needs help. No. We have all the NPCs that we need at the moment. Oh, you know what? I forgot about the recruit that's down here. Okay, alright, so what signs might we have for that? So we'll keep that. Okay, we'll keep that. Verb list. 33. Enchant, right? Enchant 59. Enchant Empress. Let's re-roll on the verb table. 26. Spy. Okay, interesting. Spy 51. Monster. Okay, alright, so what we could say is yes. What did we roll on the Oracle? Yes, and. So, does Gizelman see anything around the corner? Yes, and. He spies a monster. So, what would the monster have that would imply that our recruit might need help? So, maybe Gizelman spots a shield or a weapon or something that would be recognizable by Magenhild as a belonging of this recruit. So they're both, they're both guards of Morgansfort, so obviously they would have standard issue, and so there's likely a stamp of Morgansfort on the on the equipment. So let me think about that for a second, and then I'll come back. Okay, so the best I can think about right out of the gate is that there are one of 3 groups of objects that this monster may have. So I'm thinking weapon, armor, or clothing. And so let's check the random number generator, because I really can't think of anything else that would be specific. Obviously, there's the opportunity for like maybe they have hair or some like skin fragments or something, but that's not anything that Morgansfort would be able to readily identify. So let's do based on the the NPC that urgently needs help, and then the fact that we spy a monster. I'm going to kind of assume that a monster in this room here, it's not the Sturge, it has something. So let's say on the number generator we have 1 for clothing, 1 for armor, or I'm sorry, 1 for clothing, 2 for armor, and then 3 for weapon. Alright, so the animal has, or the monster, whatever, has a piece of clothing of the recruit. So I'm going to notate that, and then I'll be right back. Okay, so Giselman returns back to the party. Are they moving more quietly this time? Let's roll another silent check for Baldric. That is a no. That's definitely a no for... well, no, I'm sorry. That's a yes for Giselman, but Baldric's not being quiet, so it really doesn't matter. So they return to the party and say that they see a monster. So what monster? Let's check our Wandering Monster table in Morgansfort. Cast my D6. 6. Okay, alright, so we've got another Sturge. Okay. Let me add him in here. So, characters. Animals. Sturge. And so I actually kind of need to figure out how far away he is. Well, he's within eye shot, right? So we'll say that. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's definitely within eye shot. And he's got some sort of clothing that, or at least, so Giselman reports that he sees a Sturge and it's got something in his hands. It looks like it might be clothes or some sort of cloth. So now the party needs to make a decision. Of course, our 2 thief characters don't really know that they've not been moving silently, but let's make a roll of perception on at least Aldrich and Morgansfort. So does Aldrich know that they've not been moving quietly? And Aldrich, I believe, also has a wisdom of 0. So let's check Aldrich. 8. Nope, he has no idea. Morgansfort is not very wise. He has a -1, but he might surprise us. So, nope, he also does not surprise us. So I can check. You know what? Just for the sake of the roll, let me check with Durundar and Fritz. Durundar is very wise. Fritz does not have anything to add in the wisdom department. So let's check Durundar. Boom, nat 20. Alright, so that's... We're not even going to check Fritz. So our elf points out that they really couldn't be any louder. If this beast is as close as they say it is, then the Sturge totally heard everything. So, surprise is off the table. Largely, I'd say. Unless they made, like, a kind of like a bum rush, and they just ran in just screaming and like totally threw the thing off guard. Or we could attempt to make a ranged attack. So all of the characters have some sort of ranged weapon. I've got 2 light crossbows, a short bow, a long bow, and a sling. The sling might be, well, I guess it would depend. The light crossbows from our thieves are going to be loaded. I'm going to assume they're preloaded. Oh, something I didn't do was figure out what Fritz's spell is for this. So let's look at that. I think I'm going to use the additional spells in the additional spell supplement for both magic users and clerics. So let me figure out what spell Fritz would have prepared for the day, and then that's also an option as well. Alright, so from this list we have the standard Cure Light Wounds, Detect Evil, Detect Magic, Light, Protection from Evil, Purify Food and Water, Remove Fear, and Resist Cold. The new ones are Censure, Command, and Sanctuary. Censure is kind of an offensive attack that you have to roll to hit on. Command is you give a verb command. I think it's an imperative verb. So, like, you couldn't just say suicide. You had to, like... like... Suicide's not a verb. But die would cause the recipient to fake death. So, typical commands are back, halt, flee, stop, run, fly, fall, go, leave, surrender, sleep, rest. But Censure... Oh, and Sanctuary. What Sanctuary does is, like, it makes the caster seem unimportant to the opponent, so the opponent won't attack that particular individual. I don't know if we could be, like, pointed at another person. Like, you could cast it on, a party member, and then your foe, would not attack that person. I didn't read it that way necessarily, but Censure is a kind of an offensive one where they could be stunned or paralyzed, moved by half, or have number of attacks reduced by half depending on the outcome of a d6, and then for 1d4 plus 1 rounds. But I think for the fact that we have a lot of offensive options here, particularly ranged, and we're in a good range of most everything, I don't think there's anything that would be... Yeah, because it's pretty much like melee is too close, but everything else within 5 feet. And we're from here 40 feet from the Sturge. So I'm going to say that because of how dangerous the level was described to Fritz, our cleric, he's going to use Cure Light Wounds. He will have prayed for that. So let's go ahead and put that in. I think that's a good starting point with that. So with that, I think that we're going to agree to a ranged attack. Clearly the Sturge would have heard our thieves, and so maybe we can get the jump on him. Do Sturges have night vision, dark vision? Let's see. Monsters. Sturge. Alright, so it doesn't look like Sturges have dark vision. So we can still get the jump on this thing. Now, would anybody know that? Well, I guess it's really not imperative if any of our characters know whether or not Sturges have dark vision, so I'm not going to worry about it. So let me label this guy. He's going to be Sturge 2. Now, I'm going to say that because he's heard the noise, but he hasn't seen anything, that for at least one shot, he's not involved in initiative, right? So, let's see, I used the 3 HP Sturge prior, so I'm going to roll on a d6 to figure out which Sturge's HP I have out of the ones that are left. Well, not super great for everybody. Not too bad, but at the same time, it could have been lower. So our Sturge has 7 HP. So I will give an opportunity. I'll roll initiative for everybody here. I've got 6 characters to roll initiative for, and we'll see who is able to shoot first. So, first up, we're going to go... let's just go alphabetically. So we have Aldrich. Aldrich rolls a 6. I need to add everybody to initiative real quick. Tell you what, Baldric and Giselman are already outside of the party, so I will add to initiative. Let me look at my initiative tracker. Okay, Aldric's already in. So, Aldrich, Giselman. Can I add... Alright, so I've added everybody to initiative. Zero out everybody real quick. Okay, so on our dice tray, we get a 6 for Aldrich. Next up is Baldric. We've got 8. Oh, wait, hang on. 6 plus dexterity. So Aldrich is actually a 7. That was a 4 for Aldrich. Halflings get a +1 to initiative added to their dexterity, and so it should be... yeah, he's got a +2 to initiative. So that is 4, yeah. 6 for Baldric. Alright, so next would be Durandar. And let me check his dex, so he does have a +1. So 2. That was for Fritz, right? I believe so. Mission tracker. Aldrich, Baldric, Druindar, Fritz, then Giselman, then Megan. So yeah, Giselman got the 2. Giselman has a +1 to Dex. Excuse me, that is a 3. Wait, I'm sorry. That was Fritz's roll. Does Fritz have a... Fritz is a +2, so that's actually a 5. I'm sorry, a 4. So 0, and then we have 4. Now Giselman, who is a +1, or yeah, +1, so a 2. And finally, Magenhild, who has a +0 to Dexterity, so 3. Alright, so first up is going to be Aldrich. Okay. So first up is Aldrich, and then we'll add the Sturge in after first shot is taken, because he doesn't have any vision, but he's just heard stuff. And I don't really know the intelligence of a Sturge, so like, maybe he just heard stuff. So I'm going to give him just the low, he's going to have one brief surprise. It's not the entire round that he's going to have surprise, but he, this time, for this one attack roll from Aldrich, he is not in initiative. Okay, so Aldrich is going to move up. To right here. He is going to knock his longbow. (17 + 1 on dexterity for a missile), and I believe that hits. Let me pull up the stats for my Sturge here. That absolutely hits. So he hits for... Oh, and then a +1 for being in range, so 19 total. So that's good. So a 5. Ooh, alright. Hits that Sturge right in the chest. Gotta check his morale. So... Nope. He's willing to fight. Alright. So now I need to roll his initiative. He is at 6. So it looks like he goes with Baldric. So he's ready to kick some tail. He didn't like that. He wants to play. So it's Baldric and the Sturge. So let me get Baldric's character sheet up in front. And it looks like Baldric is going to be attacking with a light crossbow. Okay. And the Sturge is going to be attacking with its, it's going to be able to move, right? Well, it can only move 10 feet. Well, it can fly 60 feet. But I'm going to assume that because it had, like, clothing with it, that it's not in the air. But maybe it takes flight. Maybe it's too damaged to take flight. It really just lost, like, 5/7 of its, of its health. So let's say it's too damaged to fly. Otherwise, like, had Aldrich missed, then, and the arrow just kind of whizzed by him. Maybe he would like take off and start flying. So it's weakened, so it can only move 10 feet. So we'll go ahead and move the Sturge one closer, while also bringing Baldric to the forefront, and he's going to fire his crossbow at the Sturge. 13 plus the range plus dexterity, I believe. Yeah, I believe it still gets the dexterity. I think it's only thrown weapons or slung weapons that get a strength modifier. So with that plus 2, it is a 15, and that hits the Sturge. And so we're going to roll a d6 for damage. And 1. Wow, that could have been better, but it was not. So the Sturge is incredibly wounded. He's very... He's bleeding profusely. Like, this is not good for him. So let's roll on his morale again. 11. So he actually he decides to flee. The next person up in initiative, though, which is Fritz, is going to do a parting shot. Actually, anybody can do a parting shot if I remember right. So maybe they all do. I don't want to roll all that. So let's say Fritz makes his way up. I'm not going to dig him out of the... Drundar, Fritz, He comes up and he's got his sling. Let's see if our cleric can hit. And so we are, let's see, 1, 2, 3. We're within short range. And so... And then he gets a +4, if I remember right. Let me double check. To his parting shot. No, okay, it's a +2. Alright. So let's roll on Fritz slinging a bullet at Sturge with a +2. Oof. Alright. So the Sturge flies away. Likely still going to die, probably just, going to bleed out. The Sturge flies away. Hopefully, it doesn't warn anybody before it dies. So we just have no idea where it goes. And with that, I'm going to pause and kind of regroup, and then we're going to move forward. I would say that the Sturge dropped the cloth or whatever that it had, the clothing that it had in hand. And so that's probably worth checking out. And then we're going to check on, moving quietly. I'm going to do a separate check for the thieves, or maybe I'll just roll for the party as a whole. I mean, it is a whole party. So, are they trying to be quiet? Or not? And honestly, with the event that just happened, I mean, they just fought a Sturge. So, clearly, obviously the Sturge would have made sounds having been hit with an arrow, a crossbow bolt, and, a sling slung and, hitting the wall. So a lot of noise just happened in this main initial chamber that we were in. So let me try to figure out how I want to RP that, and then I'll come back and we'll hopefully go another hour. I really want to get some play in here. So we're doing good so far on time. So okay, so we're going to send our thieves back in. But this time, I think I'm only going to send Giselman because he's the only one with dark vision. So I'm going to have Baldric hold back a little bit. And so I'm going to send Giselman into here to investigate and kind of check the corridors and see if he can see anything. So let's roll a move silent check for Giselmund, and he's absolutely just a big old bumbling dwarf. But does he... Well, let's get in here. And so he makes it into here. And now we need to know, does he... As he's inspecting the area... Let me pull up his sheet real quick. Alright, so he very clearly picks up the clothing that the Sturge had, and you know what, honestly, because the entire party isn't moving in, I'm going to say that he is, you know, he kind of quickly inspects over here, so to the east and to the south. And he gets 60 feet, is it? And so I'm going to go ahead and open this map up for Giselmund a little bit. And he is able to see to the east a hallway opening up, and to the south a hallway opening up as well. There is a door, a double door to the east, and a single door to the south, and it looks like it continues onward a little bit into a, you know, a western portion. So Giselmund returns back to report, and I think we're on round 2 now of the lantern on Aldrich's lantern. And so he brings back the cloth to the party, and everybody inspects it, and it is Magenhild who recognizes the cloth as standard issue for the Morgansfort Guard. Obviously, Magenhild's going to be pretty upset from seeing this. So, we're just going to say he's upset. He's distraught. Like, you know, he's like, you know, when Giselmund returns with the cloth and he shows the party, Magenhild immediately recognizes it under the lamp light and just, give me that. And he looks it over and he's like, this is standard issue for the guards at Morgansfort. It looks like it's his, and so let's think about that. What kind of clothing? You know, leggings or, you know, pants, or tunic, or a boot or a shoe. Well, on that we can kind of roll. So let's assume that, you know, there are, okay, we've got a, working from top to bottom, we've got a tunic, we've got gloves, we've got leggings, and then we've got boots. So what do we come up with? On a 1 to 4, which I can roll here. So we have 1 for tunic, 2 for gloves, 3 for leggings, 4 for boots. Alright, so it looks like it's his tunic, or at least a part of his tunic. And honestly, we can roll on how much of the tunic we have. So it looks like we have 100% of the tunic. The whole tunic. Okay, interesting. So the whole tunic, this Sturge had. So, Magenhild recognizes the tunic. It's standard issue for the Morgansfort guards. So, now we need to figure out, does he see blood? Let's check the Oracle. And I'm going to roll on a high yes possibility, because why would a monster have this guy's tunic if it didn't have blood on it? But maybe it doesn't. Alright, so we have a 3 and a 1. So both are yes. We have a yes and a yes but. How How do I want to play that? Yes, but is generally a small issue. Yes, and is random event and verb noun. Yes, but is just verb noun. So let's play both and see what makes the most sense. So let's start with one, yes, and on the random event and verb noun. So, random event. $17, local festival or event. Okay, not really applicable. Oh, you know what? Let's try the alternate table here. It's a d6. 4. Challenge. You face a personal challenge or obstacle. Okay. Well, I mean that's happening. Let's roll again on the main table, the main d20 table. 7. Clue to main quest found. Alright, well, it's certainly a clue to the side quest, but maybe his tunic had pockets? Or maybe there was some sort of... There was something with the tunic, maybe. So let's check the verb noun table and see if we can come up with something. 90. Encourage. Okay. Encourage. Giant. Roll again on the noun. 7. Encourage creature. Alright, so what did we come up with? We had clue to main quest found. Encourage creature. Not sure I want to go with this this arc here. But maybe. Let me think about it for a minute. So our main quest, ultimately, in order of issues, we have going from lowest to greatest, in my opinion. We have the Kobold Goblin skirmish. We have the Orcs raiding town and trying to kidnap women. And then we have a Necromancer. So, I mean, like, the Orc raiding party and the Necromancer are almost equal. Like, we don't want people stealing women from our town. But at the same time, like, a Necromancer, that's a big deal. So... Creature. What do we have? It was it... I don't remember my last roll. Alright, let me pause here and rewatch. Alright, so it was encourage creature with the main clue found. So I like the fact that we have a main clue found. That I like that a lot. But also, yeah, clue to main quest found. Encourage creature were our prompts. I'm not entirely sure where to go with this. So maybe we keep the clue to main quest found, but what would our clue be? Yeah, I'm gonna pause again and I'm gonna think on it. Okay, so the main question was whether or not Magenhild or any of the other characters saw blood on this tunic. And the answer was yes. So there's blood on the tunic. I'm going to keep the clue what was it? It was clue to main quest found, but the PCs aren't aware of that yet. So I'm gonna just kind of notate, clue to main quest found, question mark. So just for the sake of like keeping the story going, I can sit here and run the emulator to death on everything, and I just kind of want to get a little more action in. So yeah, there's blood on it, so that kind of heats Magenhild up a little bit, and he's very worried about his recruit. I don't, obviously he feels some sort of responsibility, but I don't really know if they have any like relationship of any form. Some sort of friendship or maybe a father-son kind of thing. Maybe Magenhild feels this new green recruit that he led him into this deep dark fortress, and his tunic's gone and it has blood on it. So let's just move forward here. So Giselmund just kind of did a cursory glance here and here, to the east and to the south, and he noticed the door here and he noticed the door here, and that's all he's got to report. So now the question is, does the party move east, south, or west? And so let's check our random number generator. So we have 1 to 3. We have, let's say, 1 east, 2 south, 3 west. Also to note that Giselmund heard growling when he was in here. That was something that I didn't think about at the moment. But he heard growling from here. Was he able to perceive where? So let's do a perception check on his... could he perceive where the sound was coming from? 20. So full on, he heard growling from the west. And so he doesn't... Well, with a 20, not only did he hear it from the west, but he felt like he heard it from like kind of a southwestern direction. So that's a really good perception check. And so, he reports back to the party that, he was able to grab what the Sturge had, and apparently it has a clue. We'll figure out what later. To the east is a set of double doors, and to the south is a singular door, but he heard growling from kind of a southwestern direction. So with that, we're going to make our decision on whether or not we're going to go east, south, or west. Now the growling's a bit concerning, but let's go ahead and just, on a 1 to 3, we'll say 1 is east, 2 is south, 3 is west. 1. So we're going to head east. We're going to go up this direction. And, honestly, after you hear a bunch of growling down here, okay. Alright, so the party has made its decision. I'm going to regroup them, and then we will move. Okay, so the party has decided that Giselmund will move ahead. At the forefront, he has the dark vision, so they're kind of like hand on shoulder, following each other. Aldrich has not dampened his lantern yet, but we're at 2 rounds of 21. I'm sorry, turns. 21. Jeez. We're at 2 rounds of 20, 2 turns of 21 turns. And so we're going to put Giselmund up front. He, again, is not the only demi-human to have vision. We also have Druindar, and then ultimately Fritz has his lantern that he has put the hood on. So we'll see. We'll see Giselman's honesty if he's being honest. Because at the end of the day, Aldrich doesn't know any of these guys. Technically, doesn't even really know Magenhild, but so far they've survived something pretty deep. So trust is there, but with these other guys, not necessarily. So not wanting to take chances, Aldrich just shrouds his lantern. So we all move at a pace of 60 feet. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that is itself a turn. And we're going to go east, apparently. 1. Alright, so now we're at a threshold. I think it would be wise for our thieves for them to check for traps. So we're going to roll our D100. Actually, yeah, we're going to have our thieves check first, and then everybody's going to check for a trap. Actually, Giselman has the option of a 1 and 2 out of 6, or a 20% on the thief skills, and a 1 and 2 is a little higher. I believe that's 32, 33%, 33% and some change. So Baldric is going to let's do Giselman's first. So Giselman's going to roll a d6 on his trap check. He does not detect a trap. Does Baldric detect a trap? So with that, no traps are detected in this 10-foot square. So we're going to go ahead and move forward. Does anybody have a 10-foot pole? Alright, Druindar does. Druindar does. So our detection for traps was, I'd say for here. Now we can check traps all the way moving up. Or we could have Druindar kind of poke around and try to. So actually Giselman is going to remove himself from the front of the party, and we're going to take Druindar as our head. He has offered up his 10-foot pole as well as his dark vision, and so he's going to just come in front of Giselman and he's going to tap along and kind of press along up here. So from there we've moved 10 feet, so 20 feet. checking for traps here. So I'm going to give him a little greater of a range because of the 10-foot pole. So let's check, say, a 1 to 2. I'll give him kind of dwarf perception. He does not detect a trap here. So, honestly, I'll just do some checks real quick on traps. You just don't know. Baldric. Baldric doesn't detect anything. Gizelmond. Nope. Baldric. Alright, so if there were a trap here, it would have been detected, so there is no trap. We're going to move forward. We're going to do again. Alright, so Druindar would have made a successful has made a successful check trap, and there is not one. So now we're at the door. So something that we need to do that I think would be pertinent, and I've got some sheets turned around here. There we go. Alright, so we're gonna go through the whole party and we're gonna listen at the door. I think it would be better if the thieves did it to start. So let's pull out Baldric and Gizelmond. And so we're going to have them check for traps. We're going to do the black for Baldric, and we're going to do the purple for Gizelmond. I'm sorry, not check traps, listen. Yeah, we're going to listen. Alright, so we got 50 and 59. So neither of them hear anything. I believe it's a 1 on a d6 for everybody else. We'll double check that real quick. Yeah, so it's a 1 on a d6 for everybody else. So we have 2 thieves in a party of 6, which means I need 4 unique d6s. So we're going to say, honestly, it really doesn't matter. But we'll do black for Aldrich, purple for Magenhild, blue for Druindar, and white for Fritz. Alright, so nobody can hear anything. So we're a little blind here. Now let's check the door for traps. So that will be our thieves again. So we're going to do black and purple and see if anybody detects a trap on the door. Alright, so nobody hits. Nobody is able to detect a trap on the door. I can also, you know what, I will do the main characters as well. Alright, so we'll do 1, 2, 3, 4. Alright, so nobody's able to detect a trap. Now, is the door stuck? Well, is the door locked? So that is a thief skill again. So we're going to pull up these guys and check. Man, are you kidding me? 195? Ugh, these rolls are not helping out at all. So we don't know if the door is locked. So I guess we ought to consult the Oracle. Let me pull up my module real quick, make sure that I'm not missing something here, because I have managed to roll a whole bunch on just not paying attention to. Alright, it looks like it's not supposed to be trapped based on the mod, but let's see if, or not trapped, locked. Let's, well, and nobody detected a trap, nobody detected a lock. So let's roll on the Oracle and see what we come up with. I'm going to roll 2 separate d6s. The black is for traps. The purple is for locks. So, is it trapped? Is it locked? Yes, it's trapped. No, it's not locked. Okay, so, but nobody was able to detect that. So, likely it's a poison trap, because this is a door. Now, I really don't want any of my characters getting poisoned. I really don't. But let's roll the dice and see what happens, and then I can always roll like I did before on that table, the death-defying injury table. But, so it's not locked, but it is trapped. Okay. Let me give our characters one more opportunity to detect the trap. So let's start again with our thieves. Alright, 83 and 9. Okay. So this one here, 9. So that was Gizelman. Gizelman is able to detect the trap. I did not... Should have rolled on the door prior. It wasn't in the manual, the module for that, but I like to kind of like add surprises. Makes the module a little more fun to run versus just hopping in and playing, oh, I'm reading, and then it happens, blah blah blah. So Gizelman just says, wait. The door is not locked, but I want to check again for traps. So he checks, and he sees that there is a poison needle inside the keyhole. Now, the question is either of them able to remove the trap without springing the trap? So... Alright. So I've got to roll on both my thieves here. Are we able to remove the trap? Alright, so Gizelman is able to remove the trap. No, he's not. Neither of them. Crap. Alright, so we're going to ignore Baldric's roll here because it was Gizelman who was at the trap. So now I have to make a poison saving throw. Lord help my little dwarf thief. Okay. Alright. Alright, so Gizelman was not able to remove the trap, but he sprung it. And then got out of the way in time. Like, he heard the wrong click as he was trying to pick the lock. Or, not pick the lock, but remove the trap. So he knew it, but he heard the wrong click. His tools were not... That was not what he was supposed to hear. And so he managed to move his hands out of the way. Alright, and so this poison needle came out and missed him. So, with that, he requests that Druindar with the 10-foot pole, or somebody, somehow the needle is knocked off that trap, so nobody can possibly be poisoned by it. And he checks the door, and it's not locked. And, after all of that, we're going to have another listen check. So let's have our thieves do their listen check. We can, black for Baldric, purple for Gizelman. Alright, and they don't see, or they don't listen, they don't hear squat. So let's have our main character, our other characters, our non-thief characters, roll on a listen check. And nobody hears anything. So absolutely everybody is just completely unaware of what is beyond the other door. So pulling up the map. Okay. So they're going to open the door. Let's see. Actually, let's consult the Oracle. Does the party open the door with, caution? Are they being cautious with this? So far they've run into a poison trap, and that's not cool, so I'm going to hope that they're kind of on their toes. So I'm going to assume a high probability of yes. Alright, so we get a yes. Actually, we get both of these are yeses. And I don't want to roll on any other table. They open the door with caution. And so, Gizelmund being our 4 leader again. I'm not going to change his VTT. That's just too much work at the moment. I get my fog tool. And so he kind of peers in through the door. And I'm going to cut his vision in half because he's just kind of peering through the door. And he sees this much. So let me see what description I have for this door that makes sense. Alright, so what we can see up front is a heavy, long table and ornate chairs, badly deteriorated, occupy the center of this room. So, based on the trapped door and the, why would the door be trapped? I think everybody should be on high alert here, so I'm going to have my thieves make another detect trap check. Seriously, they both got 67. They both got 67. I mean, there's an argument to be made about the fairness of digital dice. That's pretty odd, so I'm going to go ahead and roll again. I think all in all, it's, it's probably as fair as chucking dice. But I mean, a double 67 just kind of hits me a little weird. So let me roll again. I can't see this. Jeez. Alright, so 68 for Baldric. Baldric does not detect a trap. I'm going to roll for Gizelmund again because I can't see that one. 63. Okay, so neither of them detect a trap. I'm going to go ahead and have the party detect a trap. The rest of the party. Alright, so nobody detects a trap. Which is fine, but I feel like the party ought to be on high alert, so I'm going to roll on the Oracle again for, is the party suspicious that there might be a trap beyond the door with a high probability of yes. So I have a yes, and then I have a no. So I'm going to say that they're suspicious that there is a trap beyond the door. So we're going to have Druindar use his 10-foot pole and kind of press at the square here. And there actually is, in fact, a trap on this, but is Druindar able to perceive that? So that's something that we know that the PCs don't know. So, 2. No. So Druindar does not. realize that there's a trap here. So what, like, I've done everything that I can to make my characters, you know, perceive this trap, and they just don't. So I guess we're just gonna move forward and let the chips fall where they may when it comes to this trap. It's probably one of those, like, meta things that I don't want to do too much. Like, I know this trap exists, but at the same time, you know, the dice have clearly showed that none of my characters are able to perceive this thing. And, you know, what can you do with that? You just have to play, you know, what the dice show when it comes to this solo game thing. And I think I'm going to move away from modules after we get done with Morgansfort, and just kind of like do the, you know, you roll a dungeon and then I can use some tools to kind of make up maps. But at the moment, like, you know, I'm trying my best to, like, help my PCs, but they're clearly just not seeing it. So I'm not going to save them. So let's see what happens. I'm going to roll a saving throw for everybody to see if anybody, like, does that. You know, once the floor starts to shift below them, they're able to do a flip or whatever, some hardcore parkour that keeps them from falling into the trap. It leads to a different room in the dungeon, so it might be... Actually, you know what? I'm going to roll for the whole party, because I think if the party gets separated, then that's going to make my job a little more difficult. So instead of rolling for every single PC, I'm going to make a single save versus death. Like, it won't kill them necessarily. It's not a pit trap or a spiked pit trap. It leads into another part of the dungeon. But I think that if the party is able to save versus this, then we can progress forward and just, I don't know, really try harder. Like, what could you do as especially in a solo environment? Like, maybe I could have had a couple of the other PCs, like, push harder down on the 10-foot pole with Druindar, but that's not really been encountered yet, so that I didn't want to, like, meta that into that scenario. So I'm just going to let the PCs try to save themselves, otherwise we're going to wind up in a different part of the dungeon and probably sustain some sort of falling damage. So let me go ahead and make that saving throw for the whole party, which is a huge responsibility here. Alright, it looks like the maximum number I need is 12 on a saving throw. So if I get less than 12, I'm going to assume the whole party falls in. Otherwise, we all do, like, just magic cool flips that keep us from falling into the trap. So let's see. 11? Are you kidding me? Does dexterity get added to that? That doesn't help everybody. Actually, I think everybody's got a pretty decent dexterity. Yeah, everybody's got a +1 at minimum to dex. So, with that, because it's not like... everybody's dexterous. Everybody's got some sort of dexterity here. I think that I'm going to go ahead and let the whole party, because it's such a close roll. So close. And we're talking about, like, a shifting thing below them, that they all just kind of, like, do a flip. And everybody goes over it. If it were anything, lower than this, I mean, like, we're just 1 point away, but everybody's got at least a +1 on Dex. I don't have a single character that does not have a +1 on Dex. Oh, except Maganil, who has a -1. No, he doesn't. He has a +0. So, honestly, with that, it's kind of like the whole party manages to, they all step on it and they all jump out of the way, and somebody saves Maganil. Let me roll on Maganil. I'm going to say a high probability of yes, but does Maganil get saved from falling into a latter part of the dungeon? Because if he does fall, okay, he falls, and we're just going to let him be there. And we'll roll damage on him, and then we'll catch up to him later in that other part of the dungeon. But if we're able to catch him, great. So I'm going to say a high probability of yes, we're able to catch Maganhild. I do have a 1, that is a yes. So I'm going to say yes, that the whole party manages to, like, super duper Power Ranger flip over this trap. Just at the last second. And so with that, I'm going to pause here for the evening and do my wrap up. We've run a really good story for today. We had the bringing about of our party, and then coming in here and finding the Sturge that had the clothing, the tunic that Maganhild recognized. Giselmund heard growling to the west here, and the party decided instead to go east. We did our super duper Power Ranger flip over the trap with Maganhild just barely caught. He was saved, and so we're just going to pause here, and we're going to continue onward with the dungeon, on the next episode. And maybe I'll be, less lenient to the party. Maybe I won't. Maybe we get a total party death, total party kill. Maybe we don't. I don't know. So at the end of it, I appreciate everybody who has been listening so far, and I really hope that you're enjoying the adventure. I'm GM Wolfgang, and I'm out for the night.